What is going on, Hive Warriors? So today we're going to talk about a new study that looked at high protein diet, calorie restriction diet, and intermittent fasting, and pit them all up against each other to see who provided more body fat loss, more weight loss, reduction in BMI, reduction in waist circumference, and hip circumference. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Now we're going to pull up the study real quick, but one thing that I have to say is that they use the intermittent fasting diet that I despise, the one that I think doesn't actually give you the benefits that you're looking for when it comes to intermittent fasting, and it's a little frustrating when it's called intermittent fasting. They're calling it intermittent fasting because it is intermittent fasting, but a lot of people like to use this as a weapon against the intermittent fasting community because they use the 5-2 diet. So it's like, hey, look, they did intermittent fasting, but yeah, be specific. They did the 5-2 diet. The 5-2 diet is something completely different from the 16-8, completely different from 1 meal a day, completely different from the warrior diet of 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours of eating. They're completely different and they do completely different things. The non-consistency of not fasting for 5 days and only fasting for 2 days out of the week is basically like you're doing something and then you're resetting that dramatically before you do it again. So I'm not a proponent for the 5-2 diet, but I am a proponent for high protein diets, eating more protein or having more protein on your plate, as we normally do not have that if you just went with the standard American diet. Now, without any further ado, let's look at the numbers that we got from this study. All right, so this is the effects of different weight loss dietary interventions on body mass index and glucose and lipid metabolism in obese patients by Yahui Ma and colleagues. Now we're gonna go right to the chart. Now I've read the whole study. If you want to read the whole study, I have it list down in the description box below. But this is the baseline numbers. But what we're gonna look at, of course, baseline numbers just mean what their numbers were in terms of body fat, waist circumference before they started the intervention and the control. And this is the changes in the body fat and the body weight. And if you see, it is the 5-2 intermittent fasting diet that was used, calorie restriction diet, and the high protein diet. So these are the three diet interventions that are being pit up against each other. Now, what we see here is that high protein diet takes the win over both of these, showing a massive improvement in weight. For example, even just weight, we'll see the difference. This is before 90.64 being the average, and then the average after is 71.52 with a p-value of 0.001, which makes it statistically significant, considering the fact that all you have to do is be below 0.05 to land in 0.05 and below to land in statistical significance, numerical significance. So they've reduced from 90.64 to 70.52, while the 5-2 diet did 94.20 to 82.93, and the calorie restricted diet did 87.33 to 76.06. The rate of body fat, same thing. It looks like it is much more powerful in the high protein diet, although it seems very close to the intermittent fasting 5-2, but both intermittent fasting 5-2 and high protein diet did much better than the calorie restriction diet in respectively. Then we have the BMI, of course, again, more powerful in the high protein diet, showing you the power of eating more protein. This is why guys are always push protein, because protein helps facilitate muscle growth. It helps facilitate muscle retention. Those two things help within your lean mass to help drive your metabolic rate. So even just having those things, having amino acids build and hold on to muscle tissue, that actually helps you burn more fat because of the calorie partitioning, how it drives your metabolic rate and how much energy your body just starts to burn simply because of your lean mass. So it's super important. Not only that, high protein diets, they have a high thermic effect. So there's 30% of the whatever you eat. So if you were eating something that was 100 calories in terms of protein, you're actually only storing or taking in, you're not even storing, but you're taking in 70% of that. And the thing with protein is it can't really be stored as body fat. It's used for so many, it's so useful for skin, for the organs, for your muscle. Is so useful that it never gets stored away. It doesn't get stored away in body fat. It gets used almost immediately. So it's very powerful to use a high protein diet. And you can see the numbers here, why it's super powerful to do that. Waistline, 96.38. into a 87.83. The biggest difference is within the high protein diet. Hip line, biggest difference again within the high protein diet. So it looks like it's a win-win-win-win for high protein diet, and it looks like 5-2 did much better than calorie restriction, but 5-2 is just a very weak intermittent fasting protocol in my opinion. But the cool thing about this study is how it shows in numbers how powerful a high protein diet is. Now, not exclusively just protein, because you're gonna need fiber, you're gonna need all these different things so that you have all the macronutrients that your body needs to be very successful in terms of weight loss, in terms of health, in terms of all those things. But it's really important to up your protein, because even though you think that you're eating a lot of protein because you ate a steak, you're eating a steak with like a mountain of rice and like other carbohydrates, and it's really dominated by the carbohydrate count and not really the protein count. That's usually what the plates look like in America. It's more of the carbs than it is the actual protein itself. But protein, with this high thermic effect and with its usefulness within the body, especially when it comes to maintaining muscle and building muscle, it's just all geared towards helping you lose weight. It's all geared towards that. Now, if we had a protein diet that was similar for the 5-2 and calorie restriction diet, we may see something different. But the high protein diet definitely shows its how powerful it is by standing alone, where there isn't a high protein diet with calorie restriction or the 5-2. And you can see just by upping your protein how powerful the results can be, especially for weight loss and muscle retention. So hopefully this video has helped you guys. I will have the link to this study down in the description box below if you want to take a look at it. In terms of the overall conclusion of the study, it showed that there was somewhat similarities between all of them, but high protein diet, if there was to be a winner, would be high protein diet. And I can't stand the 5-2 intermittent fasting protocol anyways, but if someone was to do an intermittent fasting system like 16-8 or even the warrior diet, I would want for protein to be equated, because that's what shows how powerful intermittent fasting is. When you equate for protein and equate for calories and equate for physical activity, then we can see if intermittent fasting is the thing that does something better than another intervention like just doing caloric restriction. All right, hopefully this video has helped you guys. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.